King Charles and Queen Camilla have started their summer holidays this week, like much of the rest of you, apart from they go to the traditional Balmoral, of course, up in Scotland, joining them over the weekend for a summer in the Highlands in what many see as something of an olive branch was disgraced younger brother to the King, Prince Andrew. Not being offered an olive branch is Prince Harry, who hasn't received the invite to peace talks many were expecting to take place next month. So what does this all mean for the renegade royals? Joining me to discuss all of this, joined by the author and historian Tessa Dunlop, the host of Die for Daily podcast, Kinsey Schofield, and commentator Hilary Fordwick. Thank you, all three of you, for joining us for this discussion. It feels like Tessa's in the studio with me. Tessa, it feels like a while since we have done royals here on Piers Morgan Uncensored. I've been in the chair for a couple of weeks now. And there was a period, of course, all through the year where there were so many royal events and so much to talk about. Have you found it a bit quieter?
A bit. And then a certain individual didn't turn up down under. And there was a little storm in a teacup. And your alter ego, Piers, I noticed, was disconsolate. And he actually tweeted, you know, you should be on the plane, mate, or HRH, or however he referred to him. And I thought, Piers, have you spent so long hammering away at Harry and Andrew that you've forgotten that no one is a saint, not even the king and the next in line to the throne? And yes, it was a chance for William to broaden his base, and I'm afraid he scored a bit of an own goal.
But Piers isn't here to defend himself.
No.
But he did certainly tweet that. You brought up Andrew there. Now, Prince Andrew, this is what we've invited you in to talk about. Is this coming in for the cold? What do you read into it?
Well, and Kinsey will be hot off the coals because she's stateside, where they've just released this big tell-all or tell-more documentary on Andrew, including interviews with Emily Maitlis, who, of course, delivered that was meant to be a sort of courtroom-style interview in Buckingham Palace, which hook, line and sinkered Andrew. But certainly there is more coming out. I think the wish was from the Prince that he could coolly hand over, was it about 12 million? I think there's some undisclosed, including some money apparently from the late Queen, and it would all go away. No such luck, Andrew. And you might be up in Balmoral right now or heading up there, but that doesn't mean people aren't talking about you.
Let's come over to Kinsey then. You brought her up. Kinsey joins us. Thanks so much from stateside. Time to bring Prince Andrew in. What do you read into it?
I think he's still a liability to the royal family, perhaps more so than Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. You know, it was the Queen's wish that they could stop the bleeding when it came to this story. And look at us today. We've got hours and hours of additional interviews and people dissecting the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. I know time heals all wounds, but we need more time when it comes to Prince Andrew. I think that, you know, I just think that this was such a destructive incident, and I do fear that it could be his legacy.
Destructive and internationally renowned, of course. Let's cross over to Hilary as well and talk about the Prince Harry element in this, because Tessa began by saying it's sort of almost like an own goal being scored. You know, we've had Harry heading over to Singapore. He's playing in a polo match. He got criticism for that. He's now, I believe, back in Montecito. But this idea that he was going to print peace talks with King Charles, and that's now off the agenda. Do you think we are going to see any sort of reconciliation?
Well, pleasure to be back with you again, and good afternoon, stateside, as you mentioned, evening there. But a few things. The biggest news, actually, with regard to Harry is something that the mainstream media, and I don't know whether it's just that it's not quite public yet, the biggest news is with regard to Edward Long. Edward Long was referred to in Prince Harry's sort of damn all autobiography, throwing the royal family under the proverbial bus. He was referred to as the Bee. He is one of the courtiers. He was very loyal for many years to the Queen, our late beloved Queen. Now, King Charles has honoured him. He now will be Lord Young, and he now will be taking on royal events for the King in his absence. So in absentia, he will be made in the position of the King. What does this mean? This literally is taking sides. It's saying who matters. It's saying who has been dedicated to duty. And it is not at all, obviously, what Prince Harry would ever have wanted. So I think now you can see definitely where the lines are being drawn. Now, the King, of course, has a big heart. Obviously, most fathers would love to reconcile with their son, but I think this is a huge move we're seeing with regard to Lord Young.
I think you make an interesting point, Hilary, but in perhaps some ways you put two and two together and you make five. Harry is not a working member of the royal family. The likelihood of him rubbing up against Lord Long in the near future or the distant future is pretty minimal. And actually, what needs repaired within the royal family are those personal relations between William, Charles and Harry. And I think we've spent too long as a media, and I include all of us, lobbing criticism back at the Sussexes, at Andrew. These guys, really, they're pretty irrelevant when it comes to the state institution that is the monarchy. How do we go forward and future-proof that monarchy that I think all of us here believe in, and make sure that things like Mexit, as people refer to it, or the Prince Andrew debacle that keeps on bleeding, as Kinsey put it, don't happen again. And that, I believe, requires root and branch reform that we could push for in the press, that we could properly get down and dirty and look at what's working for that state institution monarchy and what isn't. But instead we go in for this soap opera sideshow. Ooh, look what Charles has appointed. He's appointed a man that Harry won't like. And it's actually, I don't think, helpful for anyone.
Let's bring in Kinsey.
He's Lord Young.
Go on, Hilary. I'll give you a
Young.
chance to respond. Go on.
Yes, Lord Young, not Long. I think it's very important to see the continuity. I think it's very important to see what does matter. And I think this is a great move in terms of what does matter. And of course, Prince Harry isn't working anymore as a senior royal due to his own decision. Yes.
Kinsey, want to bring you back in on this and ask about the other gentleman involved in probably a lot of these proposed peace talks and decisions. Prince William, the brother of Prince Harry, quote, feels utterly betrayed by what Harry wrote about him in his book Spare and said about him on Netflix. They were very close growing up. It's been very painful for him, of course. Do you think he is having an outsized role in this proposed reconciliation?
Well, that's certainly what the Daily Beast is reporting. The Daily Beast is reporting that he is the one that stepped in and said that absolutely not. They were not going to have peace talks with Prince Harry, that, you know, that incident that happened right after Prince Philip's funeral, that private moment where Prince William was begging him to please listen to him and his father, ends up in, you know, the first chapter of Spare. That's a complete violation of their privacy. And, you know, I do believe that Prince William would likely prefer to keep a distance from Prince Harry at this point in time. The Sussex brand is toxic, and I don't think he trusts them.
Go on, Tessa.
Well, I hear that, and I totally understand between siblings it can get really personal. But what you have with the institution of monarchy is it's a state gaff, and through those fault lines runs a family. And sometimes William has to be encouraged to sit back, to take a bigger view and think what looks best for monarchy. What's actually going to work in terms of the monarchy going forward? His father is defender of the faith. He's meant to be a leading Christian. That's meant to be about forgiveness, about reconciliation. And I would like to see that from our monarchy, please.
Kinsey?
But do you not feel like it makes the entire monarchy look weak to take absolute kicks in the teeth between Netflix, between Spare, and then say, no, come on back, we'll take some more? You know, not knowing confidently that things that they say in their presence might not end up spoken out loud to Oprah Winfrey on live television or end up in a podcast in the future. I think they're protecting their brand. I think they're protecting their sanity and their mental health, because, you know, I can't imagine what it's like to say things out loud and to have those secrets whispered on international television or in a podcast or book or Netflix series. I think that they're trying to protect their future by distancing themselves.
And they're actually also doing the right thing, which is dedication to duty. That's what they're doing. They're keeping calm, they're carrying on, and they're doing what the British public and members of the Commonwealth and everyone actually seems to admire. Decent people dislike dishonesty, and they respect and admire duty. And you actually saw that also with recent polls with regard to Prince William, of course, in the US. He was ranked even higher than President Biden and the King, and that's mainly a lot due to his dedication to duty.
And Hilary, we hear a great deal from those who really support the monarchy. They have a loud voice, they have a loud voice in the establishment media, and rightly so, they're proud of that institution. We don't hear from the 25% of Britons who actively want to see the end of monarchy. I don't think, by the way, William helped his cause when he didn't think, oh, I'm going to sit on a plane for 22 hours. It is a pain in the neck, but I'm going to do it because people like the 14-year-old kid that's going to be walking alongside my son's reign will buy into that and see that I gave up some of my holiday and did it. And actually, what I think we need to be honest about is that the monarchy is operating from a position of strength. So Kinsey referred to it, wouldn't they look weak? But they have so much. Their wealth,
well,
their status,
actually,
is
with
part of
regard
the establishment. They can afford to give a bit. They are the ones that can give forward and step forward with the olive branch.
With regard to that 25%, I always think it's rather interesting, though, whenever the next question is asked, and you are right, there is a movement in the UK.
Hillary, we're going to have to wrap it up there, unfortunately.
Okay.
We have run out of time. Sorry to cut you off there, because we did want to hear the rest of it, but straight out of time.